Hello, everybody. It's Fiona Lukis here for our Friday Live. It is Friday afternoon, and I'm here to answer any questions that you may have anywhere I can be of service, like I do every Friday at approximately this time. I'm generally here sometime between 1:30 and 2 p.m. on Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time, which I know is different parts of the world for all of you. So I'm here. This is your opportunity to ask me any questions. If there's any way in which I can be of service, if you've got a question around relationships, around life, anything at all, feel free to post it in the comment below. And if you've just joined me live, and I know I can see some of you joining now, please feel free to say hi. I always like to know who's out there and where you are watching or listening from. It's a beautiful day here in Melbourne. Hey, Jason, nice to see you. Welcome. It's a beautiful day here in Melbourne. It's the height of summer. February is our hottest month of the year. And I know for you guys overseas, February is the coldest month of the year. I was just speaking to a client in Canada this morning. She said, we're all a bit over it, Fiona. We're expecting huge snowfall in the next few days. I think where she is, it was minus 20 something. I'm like, I can't even imagine those kind of temperatures. I really, really can't. But, I do love the fact that I can connect with people all over the world. I spoke to a lady in Slovenia yesterday. I went, wow, my first person in Slovenia. I've never spoken to someone in Slovenia before, so that was cool. Hey, Chris, nice to see you. Hi. Freezing in Texas, is it? I didn't think it got cold in Texas, Jason. I thought Texas was like always hot and warm and, I didn't think, I know you had that crazy snowstorm last year where you guys ran out of gas, right? Or the gas pipes froze and you had that horrible situation. But I thought that was like this freak storm, that freak thing that never happens in Texas. I thought this image of, tumbleweeds and cactuses and desert, and it's really hot. So maybe I've got that completely wrong. So yeah, anybody, if you've just joined me, feel free to say hi and welcome to the live. Love people when they jump in and say hello to me. I really, really appreciate it. Now, if you've got a question, feel free to ask it below. Don't try and send me something by direct message now because I won't have time to look at it. I have had hey Maz, hi darling. Always lovely to see your name pop up on the comments there. Always so lovely. Thank you. Hello. A couple of times a year, usually it freezes. Really? Wow. Well, you learned something new. I did not know that about Texas. So this is your opportunity, okay, to ask me anything at all. I really want to, as you know, those of you who've been listening to my lives regularly, and I know there's some new people who always join each week because maybe you've just purchased my ebook or you've listened to my podcast. Maybe you've stumbled across my page somehow. I have a really different approach to relationships, to how we handle them, how we show up to them, to the complete and utter understanding of them, right? I am all about looking at the nature of something versus the doing of something. So a lot of programs out there are all about telling you what to do, what not to do, when to leave, when to stay, what you should do here. Now, the problem with that is you're following something that someone else is telling you. In other words, you're not tuning into you and working out what feels true and right for you, because it is very, 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 very different for everybody out there. And if we don't learn how to tune in and listen to what is right for us, we end up in situations or outsourcing our well-being or feeling disempowered. We end up in situations that are not honoring of who we are, that are not a match for what we really want. We kind of sacrifice parts of ourselves, and that is not sustainable. Like long term, that is completely unsustainable, and it won't last and it won't work. And what will happen is people just drown in resentment and self-righteousness. Okay, that's just not how you create long-term sustainable ease and flow in a relationship. So the more you understand the nature of something, the easier it is for you to pivot, adapt, and show up, because you understand the way it works, right? You understand the nature of it. And, the thing about the nature of something is you can't go against the nature of something. And a great example of that is the weather, right? You can't go against the nature of the weather. So if it is windy, and I use this example all the time, I love to paddleboard. I'm not going to take my paddleboard out in a high wind, because the nature of the wind means it will grab that thing and flip it down the beach. Okay, it will be a nightmare. And I have tried it because, you know, I wanted to see what would happen in a high wind, and you know, my paddleboard went flying down the beach, and I took a large chunk out of one of the sides of it. So, you know, if it's a windy day, it doesn't make sense for me to take my paddleboard out, right? So because I understand the nature of something, there are certain things that I don't do because they don't make sense. And this is the same in relationships. When you understand the nature of people and the nature of relationships, you just start organically, naturally, easily, and dare I say effortlessly show up to them differently, because it doesn't make sense to go against the nature of something, because the nature of something is bigger than you, right? You know, you can't change the fundamental intrinsic nature of something, but you can understand it and learn to work with it. And so I'm all about teaching you the fundamental intrinsic nature of human beings, the nature of relationships, so that you can work with it rather than against it. Most people are working against it quite innocently, without realizing it, not intentionally, but they are. All right. So when you understand the nature of something, it's much, much, much easier. So I do look in a different direction. I'm pointing you towards an understanding so that you can move with something rather than against the tide. You're moving with the tide. And that is much, much, much easier for everybody. You know, for me, as someone who used to get quite angry and reactionary, as I had this understanding in my life, as my understanding deepened, it stopped making sense for me to be angry and reactionary. It just stopped making sense. Whereas before, without this understanding, it made a lot of sense for me to get angry and reactionary. I'd look at what someone was doing, I'd look at what someone else said or didn't say, and I would feel completely justified, and it felt like a good idea to get angry, so I just would. And then I'd be trying to talk myself out of being angry when I really felt justified and it looked like a great idea. And so it was just this tug of war, which I would forever lose, because I'd hold it in, and we all do this, right? I'm not going to get angry. I'm going to let that go. I'm going to let that go. But in the back of your mind, you're sort of patting yourself on the back, aren't you? Saying, gee, I'm really good. I've let that one go. Oh, and I've let that one go. And then you get to a point, a made up point in your mind where you go, you know, I've let enough go now. Boom. We explode. So you're kind of going against the tide when you don't understand the nature of something. It's just much, much, much harder. Now notice I use the term the nature of human beings and the nature of relationships. Okay, this is very important because I'm talking about human beings, not men and women, not sexual preferences. I'm not talking about culture. I'm not talking about religion. I'm talking about the very nature of humans. Now, the nature of something transcends those things. It transcends gender. It transcends religion. It transcends culture. It transcends education and wealth. It transcends it. So this is why I'm looking in the direction of something that is applicable to anybody, right? Anybody and everybody, because we're all human beings. And the nature of human beings is the same, okay? The nature of human beings is the same. Now, let's take that to relationships. This is why I say the understanding that I teach and share is very much the only solution you need, because I'm teaching you the nature of relationships. So it could be a relationship with your partner. It could be a relationship with a sibling, a friend, a work colleague, yourself, life. Okay, we're always in relationship with something at any moment of any given moment of any day. We are in relationship with something all of the time. And so, you know, when you understand the nature of relationships, and the nature of relationships is the same, even though it's a different relationship, different people, different situations, but the nature is the same, okay, then it becomes much easier to understand how to handle any and every relationship you are in, any and every situation, because the nature transcends the type of relationship. It transcends a sibling relationship, a couple relationship, a work relationship, a team relationship, the relationship with you. It transcends that, okay? So when you look at the nature of something, it becomes much, much, much easier for you to navigate your way through that. All right. And that's what we're doing, navigating our way through things. So If we're looking in the direction of the nature of something, one of the things that I want you guys to really understand is that I'm never going to tell you what to do. Okay, but I am going to tell you where to look. Because you need to be able to look in a place where you find the answer that is right for you. Now, when you do that, here's the wonderful, wonderful, amazing thing that starts to happen. Instead of forcing yourself to do something that doesn't feel right for you, that goes against the grain, where you're just going to get resentful of because you're going to feel like you're putting in more effort than the other person, that's inevitably what happens. You then get resentful, you then get frustrated, and our level of emotional intelligence drops in those moments. It's just true for everybody. Again, I'm looking at the nature of people. Everybody becomes emotionally unintelligent when they're upset. That's just a fact. Okay. Your level of emotional intelligence drops. So your capacity to handle, deal with, be with, connect with, communicate, listen, all of those things that matter is greatly diminished. Now, when you have an understanding of the nature of something, all of those things are greatly enhanced. Okay? They're greatly enhanced because you actually understand what's going on. Now, when we understand what's going on, we feel less frightened. When we're less frightened, we're less likely to go into self-protection mode. And examples of self-protection mode are getting angry, projecting, shutting down, getting resentful, self-righteous, manipulative, feeling guilty or projecting guilt, sacrificing yourself to keep other people happy, going against your own truth, right? When we do those things, relationships really don't go very far. They kind of limp along. They're in survival mode. And I have a lot of people coming to me whose relationships are in survival mode. And you know what, guys? It doesn't have to be that way. It really doesn't have to be that way. There's so much more on offer. And that's what I want you to know. There's more on offer. Even if you're single right now, right? Doesn't matter. You need to know this because whatever you've done in the past, you'll just bring into the next one. You just will. People just do this. They don't mean to. It's no one's fault. So don't hear this as a blame thing, but this is what we do. And so we innocently recreate the same thing because we bring the same energy, the same understanding. And, we go through that point where we're on best behavior, it feels good. And then we, come back to that point where we're just being ourselves or the other person's being them. And then boom, all the same stuff comes back. But if you have an understanding, right, of how we work, you can take that with you into any and every relationship in your life. I mean, I had a beautiful call with this lady in the UK. I want to interview her on my podcast because what she had to say was so, and I said, lots of people need to hear what you have to say, honey. So I'm hoping we can do that in the next month or so. But she was saying, Fiona, I came here to get help with my marriage. And she said, so much has changed. She said, I feel like I'm operating in life at a completely different level of relationship with all things. She said, I'm more insightful. I see things differently. She is a horse trainer. And she said, I'm at work and I'm now seeing things in a different way. I'm seeing how to help people. I'm instinctively tuned in. I said, it's just changed everything for me. She said, I came here to fix this and I've gotten all of this that I never, ever imagined. Why? Because she has a completely different understanding of the way human beings work. She's way more connected to her wisdom. She's less fear-based in the way she operates. She has more capacity. There's more bandwidth. She has a greater level of insight, understanding. It's incredible, and I think her story is a powerful one for a lot of people. I really want for anyone who's listening here to have a sense of hope. Hope is very powerful for a human being, okay? And it's easy to feel like you're in a state of hopelessness in our relationships, okay? And hope is something we all need a lot more of, right? Because when we have hope, we go from being like this to like this. Just that alone, energetically, attracts a completely different reality into your existence. And so a lot of people are like this and they don't even realize that's what they're doing. So you have to understand, this is very important. The way you are in relationship, okay, determines your levels of joy, well-being, understanding, the depth of connection, presence that you bring. It's at the heart and soul of everything, which is why I'm so passionate about it. And yet it's so interesting to me. People have so much judgment around someone wanting to learn this or get help or understand it. Oh, you should know that. You should be able to work that out for yourself. I'm like, why? We don't have that opinion when it comes to seeing a financial planner or learning about trading on the stock market or cryptocurrency if you're into that, or seeing a personal trainer if you want to get fit, or a dietitian to help you understand food and health and all of those things. Why is this the thing where everyone's so, oh no, you should work that out? It's our biggest blind spot, right? And it's the most fundamental to every single area of your life. To me, this is an essential part of living a life that you love, of feeling good, of well-being. You being good at this stuff, you understanding this stuff, because then it just ripples out everywhere. Whether you run a business, it will ripple out into the level of productivity in your business. If it's how you are at work and you're wanting a promotion, how you show up there will have a huge impact on what people notice about you and the energy that you bring and the type of leader that you are. When it comes to parenting, knowing this will transform the way you deal with your children when they're not behaving the way that you want. When especially as they become teenagers and they're not interested in what you have to say, and it happens all the time. I mean, I could go on and on and on. Dealing with emotional reactions, dealing with someone else's emotional reactions is such an important life skill. And it's an area that we get so stuck in, right? We get so stuck in and so lost in. And then we judge ourselves or judge someone else because we're not handling it very well. And it's like, this stuff really matters. And it literally does change the quality and trajectory of your life when you understand it, okay? So, in saying that, hey, Jason, I've been emotionally retarded at times. Well, you're not alone, okay? We've all done that. I want you to know that's very much a human being thing. Another word for it would be we've all been in very low levels of emotional intelligence in our life, Jason, okay? Everybody has. It's what I say, that it's the nature of being human. But what you need to know is it's not how to fix it, but how to navigate your way through it. Okay, you want to know how to navigate your way through it. That is not what we're taught how to do. Okay, you've got to know how to navigate your way through that. Not fix it. See, fix it's the doing. Seeing the nature of something and navigating it has a whole different take. Graham makes an enormous difference. Yes, I know Graham. Graham is someone who's worked with me and has this understanding. And yes, it's been huge for you, Graham, hasn't it? Huge in so many ways. Ripple effects in ways that you never, ever could have imagined. Hi, Tanya. Nice to see you, honey. I haven't heard from you for ages. It's wonderful. Awesome, Chris. Lots of hope here. Yes, hope is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful place to live your life from. Really, it is. So many people have this funny, oh, I don't want to get my hopes up. Like, to me, I don't even understand that statement, right? The reason people don't want to get their hopes up is they don't want to have an experience of disappointment, right? So they're trying to avoid an experience. Now, we are doing this all the time in our relationships, right? We're trying to avoid having an experience. And so we don't always put our best self forward because we're in protection mode. We're avoiding a feeling. We're avoiding an experience. And when you do that, please just understand you are coming from fear. You are choosing fear. You are not choosing love. One of the wonderful things that comes when you have this understanding in your life is you start choosing love more often. And the beautiful thing about that is you get to live in the feeling of that. It's a win-win, right? There is no downside, right, to having this in your life. None. It just enhances everything, and it's the ultimate resilience model, okay? Because even when life does not go the way you want it to, drawing from this understanding enables you to move through that with more humility, ease, and grace. And as you may have heard me say many times in the past, we need more humility, ease, and grace in the world. We really, really do. People who have that in their lives do beautifully well at relationships. They do beautifully well at relating. They are very relatable. Okay, so you've got to understand this is about your level of relatability, I think is the word I'm saying, right? And that has that is very much based on the feeling that you're in, the energy that you bring, because people are always responding to your energy, always, 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 and you'll feel someone's energy way before anything they have to say. You'll feel it in a text message. You'll feel it in an email. You'll feel it when they enter the room. You'll feel their energy way before you're dealing with anything they have to say, right? So this is a very important thing to understand. And you have to understand the energy that you're bringing. And this is something that a lot of people misunderstand, okay? And so we don't know where to look for the answer. Now, I'm just going to stop for a second and check in and just see how you guys are doing here. Is this making sense? Oh, that's so awesome, Graham. The humility at home has improved tenfold. Life is amazing at the moment. Thank you, Fee. Oh, Graham, I'm so happy to hear that, honey. I really, really am. Wonderful to hear. Thanks for coming here and sharing that publicly. Like, really, really appreciate it. It's good for other people to see and know. That's awesome. Awesome. So I know the ripple effects of that, right? The ripple effects on your wife and children, and then on the people in their life and their life and their life, and on and on and on it goes, you know. And as a lot of you know, I'm all about ripple effects. Now, this year, some of you will be aware that my intention for the year is to let love in, okay? Is to let love in. And, you know, a big part of that is not just not being angry at people. It's about understanding my true nature. It's about helping you understand your true nature. It's about helping people see the nature of relationships and humans so that we can show up with less angst and upset and the overthinking and the analyzing and the ruminating and the fear and the insecurities and all of the stuff that we project out and we don't even know what we're doing. That destroys goodwill and really damages the quality of our relationships. You just all need to know there is so much more on offer, hence why I am so immensely grateful for this opportunity, right? I'm grateful that I've been given the gift of having this understanding in my life, and I'm beyond grateful for the fact that I get to share it and teach it with you guys. Like, it's just, I'm so grateful. I want everyone to know this, because life doesn't always go the way we want, all right? And I really want to address that today. We're not very good, and I call this the little human. The little human is not very good at dealing with life, for many of us, when it doesn't go its way. We tend to go into feelings of, but I've tried so hard and it's not fair, and why do these things happen to me? In other words, we tend to be at the victim of something. Now, I often see this in relationships where people feel like they are at the victim of another person, or at the victim of a situation, or the victim of the relationship. Now, when you feel that way, you completely lose your power, okay? And or another way of saying that, you lose your sense of empowerment. Now, people who are disempowered aren't so great at creating goodwill, okay? They tend to operate in self-protection mode. And so whatever your modus operandi around self-protection is, for some people it's to get really, really angry. For others, it's to shut down. For others, it's to get really judgmental, and to become quite arrogant. For others, it's to go into people-pleasing mode. There's so many different ways in which we do that. And it's not wrong. Everybody has, these are what I call human frailties. Everybody has a frailty of some sort. It's just part of being human, okay? Everybody has it. So, you know, it's not that your frailties are a problem. They are not the problem. But you got to understand where they come from. And I don't mean from issues in your past. I just mean from how we work as human beings, literally the operating system of a human being. And you need to understand how to navigate your way through them. I have frailties, my husband, my kids, everybody does. But I have a completely different relationship with them than what most people do. Most people are afraid of their frailties. They see them as something they've got to fix, manage, control, change, squash. And when you do that, you're just in fight and flight mode a lot. You're in resistance, you're hypervigilant, and you're overthinking and generally pretty worn down and exhausted is what I find, okay? Which doesn't give you a lot of bandwidth for life and certainly not a lot of bandwidth for your relationships. Oh, Maz, when I started Relatable, I thought it was an 8-week program. Why not see what it brings? What it brings is a beautiful, life-changing understanding that is growing each and every day. Saying thank you is never enough. Oh, thank you, darling. That I'm going to bring me to tears. You guys always do. Often on the calls that we do, someone brings me to tears. Thank you for sharing that, Maz. I really, really appreciate that, honey. It's really, thank you. Okay. Feeling the love, guys. Love it, love it, love it. All right. Now, I want to just check in for those of you who are listening. Is this making sense? Is this giving you a sense of what's possible for you? And I know I haven't gone into a lot of detail. That will come. I'm just talking about what's possible because you are a human being. And you and I are exactly the same. Yeah, we might look different. We might do different things for a living. We might live in different parts of the world. We might even be different genders. But we're still the same because we're all human and we all operate exactly the same way internally. We do. And it's our internal operation, right, that determines all of this. And it has nothing to do with gender. It's just to do with levels of understanding. And I've worked with many, many men, many, many women. And it doesn't matter what sex you are, the understanding is the same. You don't change it for men and change it for women. It's the same. It transcends gender. It's about the nature of being human and the nature of relationships and the nature of life itself. You understand that, life becomes far less frightening. People become far less frightening. You don't have to be constantly thinking about how you can stop this thing that may never happen. You're not spending your whole time looking back in the past going, why did I do that? I wish I'd never done that. That was a mistake. That was blah, 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 blah. You're a lot more present to the now. You have a clearer mind. You have a greater level of clarity. You have greater bandwidth. All of those things change your level of groundedness, your sense of peace, your sense of presence. And these are wonderful, 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 wonderful things for relationships. Hi, Chris. This teaching has had the biggest impact as I desperately search for a way to fix my marriage. Well, you know, Chris, all I'm going to say is you may or may not be able to fix your marriage. But the one thing is you can move through this with a little bit more ease, a little bit more flow, and a little less fear. And that is a different energy. And, you know, people who bring that energy to difficult situations definitely get a very different result to people who bring a massive energy of fear and neediness and, oh my God, and all that kind of stuff, right? So as your energy changes, that will have an impact. What that impact is, I don't know. I obviously don't know. Your wife have not spoken to you or her. I know you've watched a lot of my lives, so I'm really, really glad to hear it's had such a big impact. Good for you. Now, in saying that, just before I finish off, because oh wow, time goes so fast, doesn't it? It really goes fast. I just want to talk about compassion for a second. Compassion was not something that I had a lot of access to many years ago. It was something that was definitely missing from my life. And well, when I say missing from my life, it wasn't there in me. So it's not something I saw in myself. Therefore, I wasn't presenting it out into the world. I was pretty hard on myself. And you find that when you're hard on yourself, you tend to be hard on others. You have a very low tolerance for things because what you have a low tolerance for is you, right? So people that have a low tolerance, generally it's because they have a low tolerance for themselves because, you know, everything is a mirror of how you're showing up. Not your fault, but just a mirror for you to learn and grow from. Now, as I brought this understanding into my life, my compassion for myself grew enormously. And as my compassion for myself grew, of course, my compassion for everyone in my life grew because life is a reflection of you. Life is a mirror of you. Okay? So it's very, very, very important. that you see compassion, the level of compassion that you have for yourself, right, as a direct reflection of the amount of compassion that you bring to the world. And we absolutely need more compassion in the world. People are so quick to judge, to disagree, to think that they deserve to put their opinion into something. I put a as an example. I released a podcast yesterday, episode yesterday called "The Work Ethic of Love" with this amazing man, Anthony Breslin. If you haven't listened to it, I highly, highly recommend you do. For those of you who have, I apologize for the sound quality. I have had it fixed as much as we could fix it overnight, so the sound quality is a lot better today. If you do choose to listen to it. And I put a picture of it yesterday up on social media in a few places. And this person commented and said, "I've never liked men with earrings," or something. And I sat there and looked at that and I went, like, this is what I mean. Okay, I don't understand what value that adds by putting that comment there. Like you can have your opinion, like that's fine. But it's amazing that people feel the need to put it out into the world. You all need to know my opinion. It's like, really? Do we? I don't know about that, right? I don't know that anybody needed to know that. And so, what starts to happen is you become a lot more aware of what you're adding, right? Are you being of service? What are you bringing to the world? What are you creating? What are you influencing? And so these things like that start to make less sense because you can feel that it's not coming from a place of home, it's coming from a place of insecurity, right? And so these are the things that you start to notice as you have this understanding in your life. And as you do, it makes less and less sense for you to come and operate from a place of insecurity. You just notice when you're there and you wait for it to pass and you have an understanding of how all these things work. And so it becomes less frightening, less fearful, and it's easier for you to stop and go, well, why would I put that into the world? Things start to make less and less sense. Okay. And I think that's a wonderful thing because we need a lot more compassion in the world for you, for others. Seriously, we really do. For those of you who don't know, I absolutely want to help people have this understanding in their lives, not because I just want to help people in their relationships, because I want to lift the entire level of consciousness of the planet. And I know that for me, the best way to do that is to help people navigate their relationships, their humanness, everything differently. Because when they do, there's less fear, more love. You got more love, you got a whole lot more of everything, because love is the most powerful force on the planet. It just is. That's the way it is. It is just a fact. Now, let's see, what have you got here? Emma Kate, that's me, no compassion for myself in the old days. I was a horrible hot mess of high expectations of everyone and everything around me. Still hard on myself these days, but nowhere near as loaded as I used to be. I forgive myself much more often. Yes, you do, honey. And, I don't see you as being hard on yourself, Emma Kate. What you are doing and putting out in the world is truly, truly, truly amazing. You and Robert are amazing. Emma Kate and Robert run this amazing business in Brisbane called Food Connect, where they are connecting farmers with the public and bypassing a whole lot of supermarket chains and other things that inflate prices and don't necessarily give you access to the best produce. So they have this incredible business, and it's bigger than Ben-Hur, this thing now. It's there's all sorts of micro businesses and all sorts of, they crowdfunded this amazing warehouse. It was what, just over $2 million. They've just done amazing things. They're truly amazing, amazing people. You can't do that if you're really hard on yourself, Emma Kate. You know that. You can't create something so amazing if there's not a lot of amazing love, creativity, capacity, etc., that you are digging deep into and touching each and every day, honey. That's just a fact. So you're amazing. I love you both. Marie in Tassie. Hi, Marie. I stumbled on you a few days ago, right when I needed to hear what you were saying. I've read your book and I'm now feeling hopeful and excited to learn more. I've got nothing to lose and everything to gain. Oh my God, honey, so true. I love that. You have nothing to lose. This is so true. Honestly, I love the way you've said that. You have nothing to lose, and yes, everything to gain. Honestly, honey, it's the best thing. Carly, oh hi Carly, hello darling. Marie and Taz, her relatable program is life changing for me. Highly recommend. Oh, thank you, Carly. Thank you. Mwah. Thank you, beautiful. Yes, Marie, come do relatable with us. It's the best thing. We have the best time. It's an amazing program, and everything that I've got in the book, I just expand tenfold. And it just keeps on getting better and better and better and better and better and better and better. So if the book has had an impact, you would absolutely love that program. I run live calls twice a week on Wednesday nights and Monday mornings. So it doesn't matter wherever in the world you are, whether it's US, Canada, UK, there's a time that works for you. And I've got students all over the world doing Relatable, men and women, and they love it. So thank you, Carly. Hey, Brian. How are you, darling? Good afternoon. Nice to see you. Brian's another one of my Relatable students. Love you, Brian. Chris, my issue was I tend to understand a lot of this, but I'm not sure what you're saying. I don't quite understand your comment, Chris. I'm sorry. All I can say to you is, darling, Graham's talking to Brian now. All I can say to you, Chris, is, if you can, and I know, if you can swing doing Relatable, a lot of these it'll fill in a lot of some of the gaps there for you. Okay. Because I can put a lot more time, attention into where the gaps are and where you need help around. Okay. So that's the answer. But yes, you have nothing to lose and everything to gain. It's so very true. Okay, perfect. Awesome, Chris. Great. Well, if you can, awesome. There's a payment plan, so you can also join that way. All right, everybody. I only meant to speak for about 25 minutes today, and I'm now going over time. I've got a client session coming up, so thank you all for being here and joining me on the live. Thanks for saying hi and commenting. I really appreciate it. And I will leave the link for Relatable down below. And if you've got any questions, send me an email. Fiona, yesterday I had the most incredible experience, the most aware and understanding of my emotions, what was happening at the time, followed by calm. Amazing. Oh, beautiful, Brian. I love that. Thanks for sharing. Love it. So if you've got any questions, send it to hello@fionalukis.com.au. And if you're thinking about joining Relatable, honestly, just do it. You will love it. People tell me it's the best thing they've ever done. Okay. Lots of love, everybody. See you next week. Ciao.